Hi guys, Sarah here. My question for you today is, can we keep God's commandments? Now we know from the Old Testament that people fail to keep God's law. That's one of the big messages of the Old Testament. The children of Israel are given this incredible law and they epically fail to keep it. And so we might think to start off with that perhaps God's law is just too difficult. Though interestingly, in Deuteronomy, Moses says, "What I'm commanding you today is not too difficult or beyond your reach." So that's interesting. But definitely the message that comes across is people just will not obey God. The children of Israel didn't just make small mistakes, they actually totally abandoned God's law. They worshipped other gods, they participated in the horrific practices of the neighboring nations around them, and at one point they even forgot that God's law existed. So people just do not follow God. And then of course there have been some people in history that have felt that they were doing a really good job of obeying God's law. So for example, the Pharisees and religious leaders that Jesus encountered in his time. And in the story of the rich young ruler that we read at the very beginning of this study, we find someone else who thinks he's done a great job. His response is, "Teacher, all these I've kept since I was a boy." And then Jesus takes the wind out of his sails and says, "One thing you lack, go sell everything you have and give to the poor and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me." And the man's response is that he walks away sad because he's actually not willing to give away his possessions and to love his neighbor as he loves himself with his money. So even when people do try or seem to try on the outside to follow God's commandments, there seems always to be this brokenness on the inside that stops us from having the real righteousness and goodness that God wants us to have. And that's another reason why we need Jesus.